So Saturn is going retrograde tomorrow. And, well, already people are asking me, what do we do? Well, it's not so much what do you do, but what you haven't done, which will stand out big time, as long as you know what you're looking for. For instance, since we know that Saturn is ruled by Capricorn, and Capricorn is the manager, is everyday work, is, you climbing to the top, the peak of whatever it is that you consider being your work or, your job, whatever. Whatever it is you're working at. And it takes on the flavor of discipline, restriction, responsibility, things like that. And so, I guess the best way that I can actually interpret a Saturn retrograde is, unlike a Mercury retrograde where you have to actually mind your communication. You gotta watch what you say, how you say it. You have to be very clear, right? Specifically with your own damn self. When we are talking about Saturn retrograde, oh boy. Okay, so Saturn, like I said, discipline, restriction, boundaries, responsibility, all that kind of stuff. When it retrogrades, we will be checking and double checking not only our own stuff, but other people's stuff. And I like to remind people, no matter other people's stuff before you, check on your own self. In other words, check yourself before you wreck yourself. If you have been doing all of the personal work that is required for growth, and you have not been bullshitting yourself and everybody else in the process, and you have actually found yourself doing what I call the gnashing of the teeth. If you went church as a kid, if you had preachers as parents, or church and religion and biblical studies was a huge part of your life like it was mine, then you know what I'm talking about when I say the gnashing of teeth. It is, damn it, why isn't this going on now? Gnashing of your teeth. So, if you have been working diligently, even through gnashing your teeth, and just by means of knowing, just your wisdom, okay, just your ability to watch patterns, just your ability to know when it is that you have actually leveled up some. You have left behind some things that no longer were working for you, and you have begun to create new habits, which creates new patterns, which totally diverts you from all these things that you don't want to be gnashing your teeth over anymore. When Saturn retrogrades, it is kind of like the teacher coming and checking your work. It is like your mom coming in your room, and even though all the stuff is picked up off the floor, where you would put them? You would put them away, or did you shove it in the closet, hide it under the bed, put all the dirty dishes inside your dresser? Saturn. Okay, Saturn wants you to do right by you. By this, I mean, do the damn work, especially if it's emotional work where other people are involved. Because if you just continue to lie to yourself about anything, karma has a way of rearing her ugly head no matter what. Okay? This also involves what we are willing to believe in. Remember, Saturn in Pisces. Pisces is belief. So when it retrogrades, the last couple degrees of Aquarius, right? We're not only being prompted to check ourselves in terms of the group we identify with, and all of us identify with more than only one group, even though at this stage in our lives, collectively, we are being shown very few groups, and we're being told that those are the only ones who matter, and we are being expected to put ourselves aside, which that is not at all in any way, shape, or form going to fly very much further with Saturn. Now bear in mind, this retrograde going to last until November 4th. So between now and then, we're going to have a lot of time, even though seriously it's not a lot of time. We're going to have a lot of time, I guess, to weed out what no longer works in terms of discipline, in terms of learning, in terms of responsibility, restriction, setting boundaries, all these kind of things. We're going to be pressed, okay? Meaning we're going to find out where it is that we might need a little more tightening up of the screws, so to speak. Frankly, myself, it isn't so much what I cannot do, but more what I can do. And what I can do all of my life has literally been pressed upon by other people who had different plans for me. And I am talking all the way back to childhood, because really, that is where we are taught discipline, or actually, in my case, far too much restriction, far too much being saddled with responsibilities that should never have been mine. And I am not the only one. Okay, there are a lot of people, my generation specifically, who could be kind of referred to as being sister wives as opposed to eldest daughters. And it's not just my generation, it's the one that came before mine, and it is specifically rampant in the Hawaiian culture. I mean, I know I'm not the only one who had to help raise the very much younger family members. You know, I had a baby sister. I'm pretty sure she's still technically my baby sister, but I don't talk to her. A lot of people's childhoods were stolen that way, which is the reason why plenty of people, again, my generation, are not only responsible. We have this killer energy of responsibility and duty and all this, but there are some of us who are so anal with it that, you know, Saturn may be calling upon us, and has been calling upon us, to loosen that screw a little bit, because those are not ours to be hanging on to anymore. Okay, when you've been made to be responsible for the safety, security, and lives of other people, and you yourself are a young person, you learn responsibility real well, which I did. So maybe for me, that might look like breaking out the box of doing things that I have, you know, ridiculous certifications for. They're not ridiculous, but hear me now. They may be ridiculous in the manner that I've been taught, or the requirements for making those certifications real to me, right? I am certified as a trauma-informed life coach. My opinion is that there's nobody better for that kind of coaching than somebody who's been through a hell of a lot of trauma, which, hello, right here. So for me, this Saturn restrictiveness that has been imposed upon me and that I just took on all of my life can now kind of take on a different shade of responsible. Let that sink in for a little bit. But the whole point of Saturn retrograde is literally check yourself before you wreck yourself. Make sure that everything you are preaching and teaching you are living by. Because if you are not, you're going to be found out. Make sure that everything that you are telling everybody else to go be responsible with, namely if that's your job to do that and you get paid for it, make sure you as well are doing that. Because in Pisces, you're going to be deluded. You're going to be delusional about what is and what is not your job duties. One of those duties is not bullying people who are, who you supervise. And this is just a very small example. And there's a lot of bullying going on. On the other side of that, there is also a lot of, I call it, powdering of asses. Okay, and that shit also has to stop, where people are expecting way too loose boundaries, way too, forgiving in terms of what you can and what you cannot do. You're pulling a little too much string there, and pretty soon you're going to be exposed, for lack of a better way to say it. Okay, so Saturn retrograde. Unlike a Mercury retrograde that wants us all to pay attention, a Saturn retrograde is like the fine-tooth comb. And, well, if you are a parent, you know a lot about a fine-tooth comb, especially when it's lice season, right? Same thing. Okay, so you're getting all the bugs out. And for some people, might be more ukus than others. So you're either going to be lesser of an overbearing dick, or you're going to be a lot more responsible. You're going to find out that you need to be more responsible for whatever is all about you. And this includes your job. I went there. While it is, I understand that some people don't like being told what to do. If that's the case, honey, then do your own thing. But don't expect it to go, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, all at one time. It's not. Saturn retrograde, fine-tooth comb. Okay. Thank you for watching. And, yep, I'll be back. Aloha.